Hey buddies, it's Aleckermit. This video is going to be a little nostalgic trip to the past. I'm going to be showing some of my favorite gaming magazines from my childhood and early teen years, as well as some video game merchandise I picked up along the way. Anyway, this in front of me here is GamePro issue number 173 from February 10th, 2003, and it is the very first gaming magazine I bought with my own money. I bought it brand new right off the shelf. Because I was so hyped for the new Zelda game Wind Waker coming out. And now that I've flipped through this magazine, I noticed how much it influenced my gaming decisions from there on out. So many games in this magazine are ones that I decided to pick up for my GameCube and my PC. Sonic Mega Collection, this is a game that I have now, and I love it. Here's the Wind Waker section. They mostly go over the beginning part of the game, talking about the main mechanics. And they also talk about the art style a lot and how it's controversial amongst fans so far. But they say that they actually like the art style in the end. In the screenshots, I know you can't see it too well, but the R button is up here with the other buttons in every picture. Sometimes it's all the way to the right at the top, and sometimes it's more to the left. I guess that's a beta change. Knights of the Old Republic is a game I've never played, surprisingly. 5 movies for 49 cents. I actually did this a couple times, except it was for VHS. Got Forrest Gump for 49 cents. Can't beat that. There were so many anti-pot ads back in the day. Nope, no one's ever done that. Nope. I doubt it. Yeah, that's probably happened. I see you looking at me, Orlando. I know what you want. This is Lord of the Rings Two Towers. I played this a lot when it came out. It was kind of a progressing beat-em-up, I guess. You killed orcs, and you could play as all 3 of the main characters. You could unlock new weapons and abilities. You could even play as Isildur, who is just a total tank in this game. Awesome movie-based game. I rented it initially, but I loved it so much I had to buy it. Yeah, this is in here. Dragon Ball Z Budokai. You know I had this as soon as possible when it came out for GameCube. And it was so repetitive, but I loved it. Star Wars Jedi Outcast, my all-time favorite Star Wars game. If you only play one Star Wars game, make it this one. The level design and atmosphere is incredible. It's very challenging, and the story progression is some of the best I've ever seen in a Star Wars game. Play it on PC though, not these consoles. Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I rented this one and then eventually bought it when it was in the bargain bin for cheap. You know, it's not the greatest Star Wars game, but it had its moments. Like, I really enjoyed traversing the outside of the buildings in Coruscant, and some of the levels were pretty neat. I'd like to see someone speedrun this. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. I rented this for a 7-day period and probably played it 6 hours a day until I returned it. I was crazy obsessed with this game at the time, and I bet it's still as fun as it was back then. Intech Game Screens. GameCube does not play DVDs, except for this one. And in the back of the magazine is the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance Crypt Guide, which shows the contents of every crypt coffin. This was super useful to me when I rented the game. No one wanted to spend 500 gold on a damn screenshot. Everyone wanted to know where Raiden was, and thanks to this I found him, and bought him, and kicked ass. Next up is a magazine from December 1995. This was actually my sister's husband's, and it goes over all the consoles that were available at the time. There was a huge 32-bit war going on before the N64 came out, and there were almost as many consoles on the market as before the original NES, when all the Pong clones and Atari clones were all over the place. So this magazine goes over each of the consoles available at the time, and it also talks about the very newly announced Ultra 64. Here we are at the start of the console overview section. It starts out with the Sony PlayStation, which I've probably played one time in my entire life. I know it's kind of sad. This thing was really dominant in the mid to late 90s, but I just haven't had a chance to play it much. Then we go to the Sega Saturn. This almost killed Sega. Not a well-selling console at all. The 3DO, never played one of these.
The PC, look at this thing. Those good old gateway mouses. Reminds me of the public library. The Jaguar. I kind of want one of these to play Alien vs Predator, but not a great console overall, and I hear that they break really easily, especially the CD attachment. Virtual Boy. I guess this is a handheld, technically, but it fits in here. All these red games. The 32X. Sega was competing with their own console that was already out, the Saturn. Smart move, guys. And yeah, this thing had so few games. I think like 15 or less games for the entire add-on. And it was very expensive. I think it required its own power source too, something like that. The Neo Geo CD. I know nothing about this thing. In fact, this kind of like jogged my memory that this actually existed. I know about the AES and MVS, but the CDI. Great PowerPoint style games, such as Burn Cycle and 7th Quest. The 3DO M2. This is one I also know nothing about. I guess it's the successor to the 3DO, but I don't hear anything about it. I watched that guy Sam T. He does Taco Man. He plays a lot of 3DO, and I haven't heard him mention the M2. And then we get to the Ultra 64. Kinda digging the Gotham style logo that this thing used to have. It's pretty cool looking. Here's the concept art for the controller. No one knew what this thing looked like, but this was just a guess from what we had heard. It's kinda ugly. Looks like someone just got the smear tool and went, let's add a third arm there. Over in the game section we have some predictions and confirmations for launch games. Ultra Mario, Killer Instinct, Dark Forces. They actually mentioned Dark Forces as a confirmed launch title for the system. Obviously that never happened, but they also talk about a fighting game, a 3D Star Wars fighting game that they're not sure if it's using the original movie cast or the new Shadows of the Empire cast. And of course we know Dark Forces didn't happen, but Shadows of the Empire did come out within the month of the console's release. Red Baron. Haven't heard anything about this ever. And Cruisin' USA, which was the launch title.
Sex, drugs, violence, weapons, San Francisco, men in tights. More wholesome fun only on 3DO. Who doesn't want to play Snow Job? Oh yeah. Someone explain this Virtual Boy advertisement to me. He's like in the Grand Canyon, he's dressed up as a rocker, and he's looking at the Virtual Boy from 2 feet away. I don't understand it. Wrestling, so not gay. This guy's ready to give a prostate exam. This Skyward Sword Game Informer has a really nice retrospective on the whole Zelda series. From the evolution of Link to each game in chronological order. About Skyward Sword quite a bit. This is like right before the release, I think like a week before. The DK64 Strategy Guide, complete with overhead maps. It's pretty neat. I also have the big ass box. This is the first Turok 2 Seeds of Evil comic book, which has the most hideous art style I've ever seen in a comic book. But it does have some pretty cool stuff in the back, not that. Yeah, it's got info on the toy line they were planning on doing, which I don't know if that ever came to fruition or not. But it also has info on the game, including weapons and bosses. The game was not out yet. Enemies. Next we have the strategy guide for Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Nothing groundbreaking in here, but it does have these overhead blueprint maps of every level, which the developers probably made, so that's pretty cool. Let's find another one here.
Now this is for Gal Spaceport, the second section. Pretty neat.
And if you doubt my love for Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, by the way, this thing's falling apart. All the pages are there, though. But yeah, if you doubt my love for Shadows of the Empire, I also have the game for playing, the Japanese game, a sealed first edition copy, a Dash Rendar action figure, and this very cool Boba Fett fold out. And lastly, I have a few video game related figures. We have an off-brand Sonic the Hedgehog, really well made. A Mega Man, this is one of my favorite figures that I own. And a Dr. Robotnik, pretty hefty. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this nerdy blast to the past. I probably have more of this type of junk in my basement, but it's all packed away. But yeah, until next time, see ya. Thrift store.